A millionaire sees his childhood love begging on the street with twin daughters. But what he does next will truly leave you speechless. Before we dive into the story, let us know in the comments. Which city are you watching from? And now, enjoy this emotional journey. Logan Bennett, a well-known millionaire with a reputation for being cold and ruthless, was crossing a crowded intersection when something suddenly caught his eye. Right there on the sidewalk, leaning against a dull, weathered wall, sat a thin woman. Her hair was messy, her clothes torn and dirty. Her face looked exhausted, lined with signs of pain and hardship. Beside her were two little girls, identical twins no more than 3 or 4 years old, dressed in rags. One of them was softly crying, rubbing her tired eyes with tiny grimy hands, while the other clung to her mother with a fearful look. "It's okay, sweetie. Someone will help us soon," the woman murmured, gently stroking the crying child's hair. Her voice trembled with desperate love. Logan froze. A sharp ache twisted in his chest. A face. Even under the dirt and exhaustion, he recognized it. It couldn't be, but it was. Olivia Carter. His first love, the girl he had admired silently during school. She had never paid him any real attention, except maybe to mock his awkward attempts to win her over. And now she was here. Fragile. Defeated. Alone. Logan's steps slowed as he walked toward her. His heart pounding. "Olivia," he called softly. The woman slowly lifted her head. Her tired eyes widened in shock as she heard that familiar voice. "Logan." For a brief moment they stood in complete silence. The weight of the past pressed down on them like a heavy fog. Then Olivia looked away, lowering her gaze as if trying to disappear. "What happened to you?" Logan asked, unable to hide the concern in his voice. Olivia tightened her arms around her daughters and looked away. "It doesn't matter. We're fine. Please just go, Logan." But how could he walk away? One little girl was crying from hunger. The other gripped her mother's sleeve, eyes wide with fear. The sight struck Logan like a blow to the gut. "No, you're not fine. Come with me. I'll help you." "I can't." Olivia tried to resist, her voice barely audible. "I'm not leaving you and your girls out here in the cold. You're coming with me. I won't take no for an answer." The twins looked up at him, confused, cautious. The one who'd been crying bit her lip, trying to hold back tears. Olivia hesitated, but the unwavering look in Logan's eyes made her falter. She knew deep down that she had no other choice. Logan took out his phone and made a quick call. "Be here in 5 minutes," he said, then hung up. "Let's go. You don't need to stay here anymore." He reached out a hand to her. She stared at it for a second, then slowly placed her trembling hand in his. When the luxury car pulled up, Logan gently picked up one of the girls, while Olivia carried the other. The two children, exhausted, rested their heads on their mother's shoulders and drifted off to sleep. During the ride to Logan's mansion, the silence was thick. Olivia stared out the window, lost in thought. Logan stole glances at her, wondering what could have possibly led her to this tragic point in life. When they arrived, Olivia looked visibly uneasy. The grand mansion, with its glowing lights and perfectly trimmed garden, seemed like a world completely foreign to her. "You don't have to do this, Logan. We can just—" "No more arguing, Olivia," he cut her off firmly. "You're coming in. You'll eat something, rest, and we'll talk later." The housekeeper, Mrs. Harper, opened the door, looking surprised but saying nothing. Logan gave her a quick nod and asked her to prepare a guest room for Olivia and the twins. While Mrs. Harper got everything ready, Logan brought Olivia and the children into the living room. Previously, Olivia and her daughters had just been brought into Logan's mansion, a safe haven after the cold, cruel streets. But that night was only the beginning. Logan quietly lit the fireplace, letting its warm glow spill across the room, pushing back the shadows of the night. He asked for food to be prepared, something hot, something comforting. Olivia sat quietly on the couch, her daughters curled up beside her, their tiny frames finally still and safe. "Thank you, Logan. Really, thank you, she said softly, her voice trembling as tears welled in her eyes. Logan gave a small nod, but his thoughts were racing. Tonight had changed something in him. He couldn't walk away now, not after what he'd seen. Tomorrow he needed answers. He had to know how Olivia's life had taken such a painful turn. By the time the first rays of morning sunlight slipped through the wide windows of the mansion, Olivia was already awake. She sat on the edge of the bed, her hands resting in her lap, eyes on the two little girls still sleeping peacefully. Harper and Hazel. For the first time in what felt like forever, they were warm, clean, and safe. That should have brought Olivia peace. Instead, a tight knot formed in her throat. Her heart was heavy with fear, uncertainty, and shame. On the other side of the mansion, Logan sat alone in his office. He hadn't slept much. The image of Olivia, sitting helpless on a sidewalk with two children, refused to leave his mind. This wasn't the Olivia he remembered. Back in school, she had been full of fire and confidence, always smiling, always surrounded by admirers. She had seemed unstoppable. What could have possibly brought her to this point? A gentle knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. The housekeeper's voice floated in. "Miss Carter, breakfast is ready. Mr. Bennet would like you and the girls to join him in the dining room." Olivia thanked her quietly, then turned to gently wake the girls. A few minutes later, the three of them made their way downstairs. The dining room was filled with the smell of fresh bread and warm fruit. A generous breakfast had been laid out, bowls of berries, plates of toast, pitchers of fresh juice. Harper and Hazel lit up, racing toward the table, giggling as they picked their favorites. Olivia, however, paused at the doorway, her feet rooted to the floor. "Please have a seat," came a familiar voice. Logan stood near the entrance, dressed in a crisp white shirt. He looked calm, composed, but his eyes held a weight. Quiet seriousness. "Thank you," Olivia murmured, pulling out a chair while watching the girls eat, their laughter filling the space. As the meal went on, an awkward silence lingered between Logan and Olivia. He didn't want to push, but he knew he had to understand. The moment the girls finished, the housekeeper gently led them to a nearby room filled with toys. Now alone, Logan leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. His voice was steady but sincere. "Olivia, we need to talk. I need to understand what happened to you." She looked down, her fingers twisting together in her lap. "It's not something I like to talk about. I'm not here to judge," he said gently. "I just want to help. Yesterday I saw you, sitting in the cold, your daughter's hungry and scared. That kind of pain doesn't appear overnight. Please, what happened?" Olivia inhaled deeply, her eyes closing for a brief moment. Then she began. "After we graduated high school, I started dating Jake Miller. You remember him, don't you?" Logan's jaw tightened at the mention of the name. Of course he remembered Jake, the charming, popular boy everyone admired, but Logan had seen the darker side. Arrogance. The cruelty. "We started dating right after prom. I was in love, truly believed he felt the same. A few months later I found out I was pregnant. When I told him, I thought we'd handle it together. But instead he ran. Said he wasn't ready. That he didn't want any part of it." Her voice cracked. "That was the last time I saw him." Logan clenched his fists under the table, his breath sharp. "He just left you." Olivia nodded, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Yes, I was alone. My parents couldn't help much, and I tried everything I could to provide for the girls. But life kept getting harder. I lost my job. The bills kept piling up. When the twins turned 2, we were evicted. Since then we've been on the streets, surviving off the kindness of strangers." Logan sat in stunned silence, trying to absorb it all. The vibrant, lively Olivia he had once admired had been through a quiet storm no one had seen. "Why didn't you ask for help?" he asked at last, his voice softer now. "I was ashamed," she whispered. "Ashamed of what my life had become. I didn't want anyone to see me like that. Especially not you. Logan exhaled slowly, a mix of compassion and regret filling his chest. Olivia. No one deserves to go through that. Not you. Not your daughters. You're not alone anymore. I'll help you get back on your feet. All of you. Olivia looked at him, startled. Why? Why are you doing all this? He paused, then met her gaze with quiet honesty. Because, despite everything, I still care. I always have. She said nothing, but her silence said everything. Logan's words echoed in her heart as she tried to make sense of it all. That night, as Olivia tucked Harper and Hazel into bed, she replayed every word in her mind. For the first time in years, a tiny flicker of hope stirred in her chest. But with that hope came fear. Accepting help meant facing everything she had tried to bury, and finding the courage to start again. And as the next morning's sun poured through the tall windows of the mansion, Olivia awoke to the soft sound of her daughter's laughter on the carpet beside the bed. For a brief, golden moment it felt like a dream. Yesterday, Olivia and her daughters experienced something they hadn't felt in years. Safety, warmth, and kindness. But with every small step forward, Olivia's inner battle between gratitude and guilt only grew deeper. That morning, as sunlight filtered gently through the soft curtains, Olivia stretched and quietly called to her daughters. It was time to get ready for the day. On the nearby dresser, fresh clothes had been neatly laid out, each item carefully chosen by the housekeeper. The thoughtful gesture caught Olivia off guard. Even something as simple as clean clothes felt foreign in this setting. Luxurious, calm, almost unreal. A part of her still couldn't believe they were here. When they came downstairs for breakfast, Logan was already seated in the living room, his attention briefly on some papers in his lap. But the sound of tiny footsteps made him look up. He smiled faintly when he saw the twins. "Did you sleep well?" he asked, his voice warm. Harper immediately nodded, her eyes bright. Hazel, ever the quieter of the two, clung to Olivia's hand but gave a shy nod. "Yes," Olivia answered softly, a trace of emotion in her voice. "It was the best night we've had in a very long time." "I'm glad to hear that." Logan gestured toward the dining table. "Please sit. You don't need to worry about anything today. Just rest. Let the girls enjoy the garden or whatever they'd like." Olivia paused, hesitant. "Logan, I don't know how to thank you for all of this. But I don't want to overstay or take advantage of your kindness. As soon as I can, I'll find a job." Logan gently raised his hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "There's no rush, Olivia. Right now, the most important thing is for you to recover. The rest, we'll figure out together." His words were comforting. Yet, Olivia still felt that stubborn knot in her chest. Accepting help didn't come easily. But for the sake of her daughters, she swallowed her pride and simply nodded. After breakfast, the twins ran off to play in the garden under the watchful eye of the housekeeper. Meanwhile, Olivia stayed behind to help clear the dishes. She couldn't just sit back while others did everything. It made her uneasy. Logan found her in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, scrubbing dishes. "Olivia," he said, shaking his head gently. "You really don't have to do that." "I need to," she replied quickly. "I don't feel right just taking. I have to give something back." Logan sighed. "If that's how you feel, fine. But for now, there's something else I want to talk to you about." She turned toward him, confused. "The girls," he continued. "Do they have everything they need?" Olivia hesitated, then shook her head lightly. "They could use some things, clothes, shoes. Most of what they have is old and worn." "Great," Logan said, already moving. "Let's go out and get them what they need." Her eyes widened. "That's not necessary, Logan. I can manage later once I—" "No discussion," he said with a soft but firm smile. "I'll get the car." Half an hour later, the four of them were at a children's clothing store downtown. The girls darted between racks, wide-eyed with excitement. It was as if they'd stepped into a world they didn't know existed. "Mommy, can I really get this?" Harper held up a sparkly blue dress, her eyes gleaming with hope. Olivia's heart clenched. She hadn't seen that kind of joy on her daughter's face in so long. "Yes, sweetheart. You can." Hazel, quieter but no less excited, held up a new pair of sneakers. "Me too, Mommy." Olivia smiled, blinking back the emotion. "You too, my love." Logan stood nearby, observing the moment quietly, pleased to see the girls so full of life. Once they had chosen clothes, shoes, and a few toys, he took them all to a nearby restaurant for lunch. The girls chattered non-stop between bites, laughing and sharing silly stories. Olivia watched them in awe. For the first time in ages they were smiling. Truly smiling. "You've done so much for us today," she said to Logan, her voice soft but sincere. "Only what anyone should do," he replied. "You deserve this." Olivia looked down, her past flooding back. The guilt resurfaced. "You're a much better person than I ever was to you," she murmured, barely audible. Logan frowned. "Olivia, the past is behind us. What matters now is what we do moving forward." She nodded slowly. His forgiveness only made her shame harder to bear, but it also gave her something else, the courage to try. When they returned to the mansion, the twins ran straight out to the garden, eager to show off their new clothes. Olivia stood at the window, watching them with a gentle smile. For the first time in years, she felt safe. "They're incredible little girls," Logan said from beside her. "They're my reason," Olivia replied quietly. "Even at my lowest, they gave me the strength to keep going." Logan looked at her with quiet admiration. "You're stronger than you realize. Not everyone could go through what you did and still keep standing." She let out a small sigh. Maybe it's strength, or maybe just stubbornness. "Either way," Logan smiled, "I want you to know if you ever need anything, I'm here." Olivia nodded, something shifting in her chest. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to trust someone else. The next morning, sunlight filtered into the room again. Harper and Hazel were still asleep, their faces peaceful, free from the fear that had once haunted them. Olivia watched them for a while, a quiet hope growing in her heart. Maybe, just maybe, starting over wasn't impossible. She got dressed and went downstairs, where Logan was already in the kitchen, sipping coffee and flipping through the newspaper. "Good morning," he said, smiling as he looked up. "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" "Like a rock," he chuckled, folding the newspaper. "I made coffee for you two. Come, have a seat." Olivia joined him, surprised by how natural this small routine had started to feel. As she sipped her coffee, Logan leaned forward. "I've been thinking," he began. "Now that the girls are more settled, we can start focusing on you." "Me?" she asked, caught off guard. "You said you wanted to work again. What kind of job are you looking for?" Olivia paused, choosing her words carefully. "I don't have much of an academic background. I'm willing to do anything that lets me support my daughters." Logan nodded thoughtfully. "That makes sense. But what if you could study? Finish your education. Build a future that's more than just survival." Her eyes widened. "Study? That's out of the question, Logan. I don't have the time or the money." "You'd have both here," he said calmly. "I'll cover the expenses. And I'll make sure the girls are taken care of while you study." Olivia shook her head, stunned. "You've already done so much. I can't accept more." "This isn't just for you," Logan said gently. "It's for Harper and Hazel too. If you grow stronger, their lives grow better." His words struck deep. She knew he was right. But her pride, her shame, still held her back. That evening, after putting the girls to bed, Logan asked Olivia to join him in his office. When she entered, he handed her a small envelope. "Olivia, I have a proposal." Inside was information about business and entrepreneurship courses. "I want you to consider taking these. You're smart, you're determined, and I believe you have what it takes to build something for yourself, and for them." She stared at the papers, overwhelmed. "Logan, this is too much. I'm not sure I can do this." "You're more capable than you think," he said. "You don't have to decide right away. Just consider it." Olivia held the papers in her hands, her heart beating fast. A door had opened, one she never expected to see again. After much soul-searching and encouragement from Logan, Olivia had finally said yes to something she never thought she'd dare to dream of, rebuilding her future from the ground up. But just as she began finding her rhythm, life reminded her that some wounds don't stay buried forever. In the days that followed, Olivia held the course documents tightly in her hands, caught between a trembling fear and a fragile hope. Logan's proposal echoed in her mind, and as time passed, she began to understand something vital. This might be her one true chance to turn things around. Not just for herself, but for the two little girls who depended on her. And so, with a deep breath and a quiet promise to herself, Olivia accepted the offer. She enrolled in the business and entrepreneurship courses and started studying during the day, while the twins were lovingly cared for by the housekeeper. First, it was overwhelming. Each chapter she read felt like scaling a mountain she wasn't sure she could climb. But gradually she found her pace. Day by day she built momentum, and with every small victory, a piece of the old Olivia, the one she thought she'd lost, began to return. Logan, always attentive, followed her progress closely. His quiet support and timely words of encouragement became her safety net. He believed in her fiercely, and little by little, she started to believe in herself too. Meanwhile, their lives settled into a steady rhythm. Each morning, Harper and Hazel would laugh and play in the garden, while Olivia immersed herself in her studies in the home office Logan had set up for her. One afternoon, as she reviewed her notes, Logan entered the room with a serious look on his face. Olivia immediately sensed the shift. Something was wrong. "We need to talk," he said, closing the door gently behind him. Olivia's stomach twisted. "What is it?" Logan sat down across from her, his gaze steady. "I found someone from your past. Jake Miller." The name hit her like a bolt of lightning.
Hey.
The man who had walked away without a second glance. The father of her daughters, who had never so much as acknowledged their existence. Trying to keep her voice steady, she asked, "What does he have to do with this?" "I've been looking into your past," Logan admitted. "I needed to understand what happened after high school. I found Jake. And I confronted him." "You did what?" Olivia stood stunned. Her heart pounded. "I needed to hear the truth from him," Logan said firmly. "I had to understand why he left you and the girls." Olivia sat back down, her emotions a tangle of shock, pain, and reluctant appreciation. She didn't know what to feel. "What did he say?" Logan leaned forward, his voice low. "He admitted it all. He knew you were pregnant. He just didn't want the responsibility. Said it was easier to disappear." The words struck her like cold water. Even though she had expected as much, hearing it spoken aloud made it sting all over again. "Did he even ask about the girls?" she whispered. "No. Not once." That was the last crack. Tears burned behind her eyes as she clenched her fists, trying to hold back the storm rising inside. As much as she hated Jake, a small, hidden part of her had always hoped, just hoped that maybe someday he would care. Logan stood and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone in this, Olivia." She looked up, her voice trembling. "Thank you, Logan, but some things I have to face on my own." That night, after tucking the twins into bed, Olivia sat at the kitchen table, staring into a cup of tea gone cold. The silence around her was heavy. Logan's words echoed in her mind, and so did Jake's absence. The next morning, unable to focus on her routine, she made a decision. She picked up the phone and called him. Jake answered after a few rings, his tone indifferent. "Jake, it's Olivia. We need to talk." He paused, then replied flatly. "About what?" "It's been years." "It's about the girls," she said firmly. "You've ignored them their entire lives. That needs to change. Not for me, but for them." Jake sighed. "Olivia, I've made it clear. I don't want to be part of that. What do you expect me to say? That I'm sorry. Because I'm not. Her heart tightened, but her voice remained calm. So you'll never meet them. Never take responsibility. I've moved on, Olivia. You should too. Then the line went dead. She stood there, frozen, holding the phone as the silence settled. That was it. The closure she had both needed and feared. Harsh, cold, but final. That evening, Logan found her on the couch. The twins lay peacefully asleep beside her. He sat down next to her, waiting. I spoke to Jake, she said quietly. How did it go? As I expected. He wants nothing to do with them. Logan clenched his jaw, anger flickering in his eyes. He doesn't know what he's missing. Olivia looked down at her daughters and whispered, I didn't do it for him. I needed to know with certainty that there was no future with him. No shadow hanging over the girls. Logan nodded, seeing the strength it took for her to say that. The next morning, Logan surprised her with a small, wrapped package. Inside was a beautiful notebook and a sleek pen. What's this? She asked, touched. A tool, he smiled. To plan your future. Write down your goals, your dreams, whatever you want to build. I'll be right here, every step of the way. Olivia's eyes shimmered. Thank you, Logan. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're already doing it, he replied. Rebuilding. I'm just here to make sure nothing stands in your way. And so, Olivia pressed on. The conversation with Jake, though painful, had finally freed her. She no longer had to look back. Now, her focus was clear. Her daughters, her studies. And a life she was determined to shape with her own hands. After accepting the position Logan offered, and with the past finally laid to rest, Olivia stepped into a new phase of her life. But even with hope stirring, the next challenge would test more than just her skills. It would ask her to believe in herself. This role lets you apply what you've been learning, Logan explained, handing Olivia the folder. It's only temporary, and there's enough flexibility for you to keep studying and take care of the girls. Olivia stared at the documents, her heart pounding slightly. The offer was generous, more than she had expected. But something in her hesitated. Working directly with Logan. Would it blur the lines they had so carefully tiptoed around? I don't know, Logan, she said, her voice tentative. I'm not sure I'm the right person for this. I don't have any real experience. Logan looked her straight in the eye, calm and reassuring. You have more than you think. You're learning quickly, Olivia. You've already proven you can face challenges head-on. And this isn't a favor. I genuinely believe in your potential. His words hit deeper than she anticipated. They weren't spoken out of pity or obligation. She could feel the sincerity behind every syllable. That belief. It lit something inside her. She paused, still uncertain. But then, after a few seconds of quiet thought, she drew a slow breath and offered a faint smile. All right, she said softly. I'll do it. Logan's eyes lit up. You won't regret it. We'll take it one step at a time. And before long, you'll see how capable you really are. The very next morning, Olivia stepped into her new role, and into Logan's company. He introduced her to his team, a group of patient, supportive professionals who seemed genuinely eager to help her grow. Although nerves danced under her skin, Olivia quickly saw that Logan had chosen people who would encourage her, not judge her. The work wasn't easy. It required precision, organization, and the ability to manage tight deadlines. But Olivia met each task with quiet determination. Every small success boosted her confidence. With each passing day, the woman who once doubted her own worth began to stand a little taller. Home, things were changing too. The twins, Harper and Hazel, had slipped into their new routine effortlessly. Their afternoons were filled with playful giggles, colorful drawings, and endless energy, turning Logan's once quiet home into a space alive with joy. Logan, whenever he could, joined them in their play, drawing closer to the girls in ways Olivia hadn't expected. One evening, as Olivia reviewed some reports in the office, Logan entered with 2 cups of tea. He placed one gently beside her and settled onto the couch nearby. "You're doing really well," he said, watching her closely. Olivia smiled, her cheeks coloring just a bit. "I still have so much to learn. But I'm enjoying the challenge. That's what matters. Growth isn't about being perfect, it's about effort. And you're putting in more than enough." His words stirred something warm in her chest. She turned away briefly, trying to keep her emotions in check. "Thank you for believing in me, Logan. Truly." He didn't respond right away, just smiled. And in the quiet that followed, something shifted. The silence no longer felt awkward. Felt safe. Almost intimate. As the weeks passed, the bond between them only deepened. It showed in the small things, a lingering glance across the room, a brush of hands when passing papers, a soft laugh shared over coffee. Neither of them spoke the words, but the feelings were there, growing steadily in the spaces between them. One afternoon, during a team meeting, Olivia surprised everyone by presenting a clever idea to streamline logistics on an ongoing project. The room fell silent for a second, then Logan broke into a proud smile. "Excellent suggestion, Olivia. We'll implement this right away." Her eyes lit up. In that moment she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. She felt seen, capable, even powerful. Later that day, as they walked toward the parking lot, Logan suddenly stopped and turned to face her. "Do you realize how much you've grown since you got here?" he asked, eyes warm. Olivia laughed lightly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "I still feel like I have so much to prove." "You don't have to prove anything," Logan said, his voice steady. "Not to me. You're already amazing, just as you are." Her heart skipped a beat. For a moment it felt like time slowed. He stepped closer, the air between them charged with something unspoken. But before either could say more, "Mommy, look what we made." The twins came racing across the lot, waving bright, colorful drawings. Olivia knelt to hug them tightly, laughing. Logan stood nearby, watching the scene unfold with a quiet smile, feeling an unfamiliar but welcome fullness in his chest. He didn't need to say it, just being there with them felt like home. That night, after tucking the girls into bed, Olivia lay in the quiet and let her thoughts drift. Her life had transformed in ways she never imagined, filled now with new purpose, with laughter, with hope. And through it all, Logan had been there. Steady, supportive, unwavering. She knew the truth, though she hadn't admitted it aloud yet. She was falling for him. But even with everything they'd shared, part of her still hesitated. Could she risk opening her heart again? As for Logan, he found his thoughts drifting to her more and more often. There was something about Olivia that captivated him. Her resilience, her warmth, the way she loved her daughters. Despite the scars they both carried, he knew deep down, this connection was real. And it was only growing stronger. Even as the days grew warmer and more vibrant, with laughter returning to the halls of Logan's mansion, something unspoken still lingered beneath the surface. Olivia had come a long way, stronger, more confident, but part of her heart remained guarded. And Logan, he could feel it too. The house grew increasingly quiet in the evenings, especially after long, full days of work and play with Harper and Hazel. Olivia often found herself sitting in the dimly lit bedroom once the girls were asleep, lost in deep reflection. With her hands resting in her lap and the soft hum of night outside the window, she wondered how her life had changed so drastically, and whether she truly belonged in this newfound peace. Though Logan had been nothing but supportive, a quiet shadow from the past still hung over her. Guilt. Regret. She tried to shake it, but it clung to her in quiet moments like these. Downstairs, Logan sat alone in the living room. The flickering fire in the hearth danced across the walls, casting long shadows as he stared into the flames. Sleep evaded him. His thoughts circled around Olivia, her soft smiles, her sudden silences. He noticed how she withdrew sometimes, how her eyes clouded as if caught in a storm no one else could see. He knew they couldn't keep avoiding it. If they were truly going to move forward, they needed to talk. Honestly. Openly. The next morning, while Harper and Hazel played joyfully in the garden, Logan saw an opportunity. Olivia was in the kitchen, organizing the groceries that had just been delivered. She moved with practiced care, unaware that he was watching her from the doorway. "Olivia, can we talk?" His voice was calm, but carried a certain gravity. She paused immediately, sensing this wasn't just casual conversation. Turning to face him, she nodded. "Of course. What is it?" He gestured toward the living room, and she followed him quietly. They sat down side by side on the couch, the morning light softening the space around them. "There's something I've wanted to say for a while," Logan began, looking into her eyes. "But I wasn't sure how to bring it up." Her heart started to race, but she leaned in slightly. "What is it?" "I admire you, Olivia. Your strength, your resilience. But I also see that you're still carrying guilt, more than you should. I think it's time to let it go." The words hit her like a wave. She turned her face slightly, not to hide but to absorb. "Logan," she said softly, "I've made a lot of mistakes. Choices I can't undo. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve the life you're offering me." Logan shook his head slowly. "No one's perfect. We all have regrets. But you've worked so hard to overcome everything life's thrown at you. You do deserve this. You deserve peace, happiness, and more." His voice was steady, like a balm on wounds she'd tried to bury. Olivia took a deep breath. Her throat tightened, not from fear, but from the raw truth she had to face. "I've never apologized, not really, for how I treated you when we were younger. I was selfish, immature. I didn't see your worth, or the worth of the people around me. I hurt you, and I'm sorry." Logan was quiet for a long beat. Then he spoke softly but firmly. "Olivia, the past doesn't matter anymore. We've both changed. What matters now is what we're building. Here now together. Forgive you. I just hope you can forgive yourself." Tears welled up in her eyes. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming release of something she hadn't even realized she was still holding on to. It felt as if a weight she had carried for years was finally lifting. She looked up, meeting Logan's calm, sincere gaze. "Thank you, Logan. For everything." "You don't need to thank me," he replied gently. "I'm here because I want to be." That quiet exchange marked a turning point. The walls between them, once made of guilt and silence, began to crumble. In their place, something honest and open began to take root. In the days that followed, Olivia felt lighter, freer than she had in years. She threw herself into her studies and work with new enthusiasm. Every spreadsheet completed, every task accomplished now came with a sense of pride, not pressure. Logan remained her constant supporter, always there in the background, ready with quiet encouragement or a simple smile. One peaceful evening, after tucking the twins into bed, Olivia wandered out into the garden. There she found Logan sitting in one of the old wooden rocking chairs, bathed in soft moonlight. He looked calm but deep in thought. "Are you okay?" she asked, settling beside him. Logan smiled at the sound of her voice. "Yeah, I was just thinking about how much has changed. When I saw you that night on the sidewalk, I never imagined we'd end up here." "Neither did I," Olivia admitted, her voice tender. "But I'm glad we did." Silence wrapped around them again, not awkward or heavy but peaceful, like the quiet before dawn. Logan turned to look at her, the moonlight catching the shimmer in her eyes. "Olivia," he asked softly, "do you believe in second chances?" She smiled, thinking for a moment. "I think I'm starting to." Encouraged by her answer, Logan felt a warmth bloom in his chest. Whatever this was between them, slow, unfolding, real, it was something they both needed. Something worth protecting. The peaceful farm day had rekindled something gentle between Olivia and Logan, an unspoken promise of a future shaped not by the past, but by shared joy, patience, and newfound hope. But as life moved forward, it was the smaller, everyday moments that began to deepen their bond in ways even they hadn't fully realized yet. Logan wanted to keep that warmth alive. So he arranged a simple trip, a quiet escape from the buzz of the city, to a nearby farm. A place where they could spend the entire day outdoors, just the four of them. The moment Harper and Hazel heard the idea, they squealed with excitement, practically bouncing around the house. Olivia, though surprised by the spontaneous plan, felt a genuine sense of gratitude. This was more than just a day out. It was a chance to be truly present with her daughters, and with Logan. The farm came to life with laughter and sunshine. The girls fed animals with wide-eyed wonder, ran carefree through open fields, and devoured creamy scoops of homemade ice cream. Olivia watched them, her heart full. And all the while, she couldn't help but notice how natural Logan looked by their side, lifting Hazel onto his shoulders, steadying Harper as she reached out to a sheep, laughing like he'd been part of their world forever. By the end of the day, the girls were sound asleep in the back seat as they drove home. Messy hair, dirt-smudged clothes, but pure joy on their faces. Olivia turned to Logan as he drove, a soft smile on his lips. "Thank you for today," she said gently. "There's no need to thank me," he replied, eyes still on the road. "It was a special day, for all of us." "It really was," she nodded. "It meant so much to see the girls that happy." "This is just the beginning, Olivia," Logan said, his voice steady. "There are going to be many more days like this ahead." Her smile deepened, warmed by the sincerity in his words. For the first time in a very long while, she truly believed that maybe, just maybe, the future could be bright. When they got home, Logan quietly carried the twins to their room, carefully tucking them into bed with surprising tenderness. Olivia stood nearby, silently moved by the gentle way he handled them. Later that night, lying in bed, she felt something shift within her. Readiness. Logan had been right all along. Second chances did exist. And this time, she wasn't going to let hers slip away. Mornings at Logan's mansion slowly transformed. Gone was the cold quiet that once dominated the space. Now, the air buzzed with laughter as Harper and Hazel raced down the hallways, their giggles echoing off the marble. Even Logan, once the picture of a work-focused bachelor, found himself more and more involved in their routines, reading stories, preparing snacks, listening intently to their wild imaginations. And more than anything, he was there for Olivia. One particular morning, Olivia was getting ready to leave. Logan had invited her to accompany him to a major business meeting, a chance for her to observe how he handled negotiations and led his team. She was honored but anxious. What if she said the wrong thing? What if she didn't belong? Standing by the door, Logan called out, "Are you ready?" "More or less," she replied, adjusting her bag. "I just hope I don't mess up." He smiled reassuringly. "You'll do great, Olivia. Trust yourself." When they arrived at the company's towering headquarters, Olivia was quietly awed. The sleek architecture, the energy in the building, it was intimidating but also thrilling. Logan guided her to the conference room where several executives were already seated. He introduced her as a promising collaborator, a phrase that filled her with equal parts pride and nervousness. Throughout the meeting, Olivia stayed focused, taking in every word. At one point, Logan invited her to share her thoughts. She hesitated but spoke, and to her surprise, her ideas were met with nods of approval. "You have a very clear perspective," one of the executives noted. "Thank you," Olivia replied modestly, her voice steady. "I'm still learning, but I'm glad I could contribute." Logan watched her quietly, a sense of satisfaction swelling in his chest. He'd always known she had potential, but watching others see it too, that was even more rewarding. After the meeting, they stopped by a nearby cafe. Sitting at a sunlit outdoor table, Olivia finally exhaled, ordering a cappuccino with a grateful smile. "You were amazing today," Logan said, sipping his coffee. "I was so nervous," she admitted, laughing softly. "But it was exciting to be part of it." "This is just the beginning," he said. "You're building something solid, Olivia." She looked at him, eyes full of quiet emotion. "None of this would have happened without you, Logan. You believed in me. Even when I didn't. All I did was show you the way. The rest, that's all you." Just then her phone buzzed. It was the housekeeper calling to say Harper and Hazel were asking for her. Logan chuckled. "Looks like your little ones miss you." "They're clingy," Olivia said with a smile. "Can't stay away for long." Back home, the girls ran to her with open arms, hugging her tightly. Logan stood nearby, watching the scene with quiet affection. Every day, his connection to the twins deepened. Their joy, their energy, it was infectious. Later that afternoon, Logan planned a small picnic in the garden. Harper and Hazel eagerly helped pack a basket with sandwiches, fresh fruit and juice. Olivia sat on a blanket, watching the girls twirl in the sunlight, while Logan joined her, sitting close. "You're getting more and more comfortable with them," she said. "They're incredible kids," he replied, eyes on the girls. "It's impossible not to grow attached." "Thank you for being so good to them, Logan," she said quietly. "They feel safe and happy here. And that's all I've ever wanted." He turned to her. "They're part of you, Olivia. And for me, that's enough." His words wrapped around her heart like a soft ribbon. She knew her feelings for him went beyond simple gratitude. But still, fear lingered. Fear of giving her heart fully again. That evening, after the girls fell asleep in her arms, Logan helped her carry them to bed. Together, they tucked them in gently, and as they stepped out into the hallway, Olivia stopped and looked at him. "You've changed our lives," she said. Logan met her eyes, his gaze steady. "You've changed mine too." There was something unspoken in that moment. Tender, intense, undeniable. Vulnerability met safety, and for the first time, Olivia didn't flinch from it. Later that night, as she prepared a cup of tea in the kitchen, Logan walked in. He stood quietly for a moment, watching her. Then he stepped forward. "Olivia, there's something I need to say." She turned to him, heart quickening. "What is it?" He hesitated, then spoke with honesty. "Since you came here, everything's changed. You and the girls brought something into my life I didn't even know was missing. I care about you, Olivia. More than I can say." His confession washed over her like a tide. For a moment she couldn't speak. But then she smiled, eyes glistening. "Logan, care about you too. But it's still new. I just need time." Logan nodded without hesitation. "I understand. I'm not asking you to rush. I just wanted you to know how I feel." Their moment was softly interrupted by the faint voice of Harper calling for her mother upstairs. Olivia gave him a gentle smile and turned to go. Logan stayed in the kitchen, looking down at the teacup she had left behind. Winning her full trust would take time. But for her, and for the girls, he was willing to wait. Every second would be worth it. After the stormy night and the heartfelt dinner, something had shifted quietly, but unmistakably, between Logan and Olivia. Their connection was deepening, and with each passing day, their rhythm together felt more natural, more inevitable. Time seemed to pass quickly as their bond grew stronger in the most organic way. Logan, always thoughtful, found subtle yet meaningful ways to show he cared, sometimes through kind words, other times through simple gestures that made Olivia feel seen. On her end, she noticed herself slowly lowering the walls she'd spent years building. A quiet guard remained, but even that was beginning to soften. One quiet evening, after Harper and Hazel had gone to bed, Logan turned to Olivia with a gentle suggestion. "Join me on the terrace," he asked, his voice low and inviting. She hesitated for a moment, then followed him, her curiosity guiding her steps. The view that greeted her took her breath away. From the mansion's terrace, the city sparkled in the distance, its lights shimmering like a sea of stars. The cool night air wrapped around them, bringing a peaceful stillness that felt worlds apart from the usual chaos of New York City. Logan stood beside her in silence, his gaze not on the skyline but on her. "I used to come up here when I needed to think," he said softly. "But lately, I don't feel that need anymore." She turned to him, sensing something deeper behind his words. "And what brings you that peace now?" she asked, almost afraid of the answer. "You," he replied without hesitation. The word hung in the air, weighty and vulnerable. Olivia's breath caught. She had felt her feelings for Logan growing, but hearing him say it out loud made everything feel real. Perhaps too real. Taking a slow step closer, Logan closed the space between them. "From the moment I saw you that night, something inside me changed," he confessed. "And the more time we spend together, the more I realize. What I feel for you is unlike anything I've ever known." Olivia's heart pounded. Part of her wanted to dive into this moment, to surrender to the warmth in his eyes. But another part hesitated. "Logan, this is all still so new to me," she admitted. "I'm still trying to find my footing. I need to be strong, for myself, for the girls." "I'm not asking you to rush," Logan said gently. "I just needed you to know how I feel." Taking a deep breath, Olivia met his gaze. In his eyes there was only sincerity. No pressure, no expectation, just patience. "I feel something for you too, Logan," she said quietly. "But I need time. I need to be sure I'm ready to move forward." Logan nodded. "I'd wait as long as it takes." At that moment, a low rumble of thunder echoed in the distance. Olivia looked out toward the horizon, where dark clouds had begun gathering. The wind stirred slightly, brushing her hair from her face. "We should head inside before it starts to rain," she suggested. Logan agreed, but the look in his eyes said everything. This moment between them had changed something. Even if the future still felt uncertain, there was no denying that their hearts had taken a bold step forward. In the days that followed, the air between them carried a new kind of energy. Their interactions became more charged, not tense, but quietly emotional, as if both were tiptoeing along the edge of something more. And then one evening Logan did something unexpected. After Logan's heartfelt confession and Olivia's brave admission of her feelings, something within her began to shift. Slowly but surely, she was learning to trust again, not just in Logan, but in the idea that happiness might truly be possible. One quiet evening, after tucking the twins into bed, Olivia found herself walking toward Logan's office. He was immersed in paperwork, his brow slightly furrowed in focus, but his eyes immediately lifted when she stepped in. "Can we talk?" she asked, gently closing the door behind her. "Of course," he said, setting the papers aside. "What's on your mind?" Olivia took a seat across from him and drew a deep breath. There was something she needed to say, something long overdue. "I want to apologize for doubting you," she began softly. "I know that message rattled me, but that doesn't excuse the way I questioned your intentions. You've been nothing but honest with me, and I should have trusted that." Logan offered her a warm, understanding smile. "You don't owe me an apology, Olivia," he replied. "I understand how hard it is for you to let your guard down. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help." His words struck something deep within her, and before she could stop them, tears welled up in her eyes. "You're so different from anything I've ever known," she whispered. "And that terrifies me, but it also makes me hope. Maybe, just maybe, I can be happy again." Logan didn't hesitate. He stood, walked over, and gently knelt beside her. Reaching up, he wiped away a single tear that had slipped down her cheek. "You can be happy, Olivia. And you don't have to do it alone." That night, a quiet transformation took place. For the first time in years, the emotional fortress Olivia had lived behind began to crumble. And in the days that followed, their closeness deepened. Slowly, tenderly, and with purpose. Logan continued to show her patience, never rushing her, while Olivia allowed herself, bit by bit, to lean into the trust they were building together. One sunlit afternoon, they took a stroll through the park with Harper and Hazel. Logan watched Olivia laughing and playing with the girls, her smile radiant, her heart full. In that moment, clarity washed over him. They were his future. It wasn't even a question anymore. Later that day, when they returned to the mansion, Logan quietly asked the housekeeper to keep an eye on the twins. Then he took Olivia's hand and led her back to the terrace, the same one where they had shared that pivotal night months ago. "Olivia," he said, his voice calm but resolute, "there's something I need to say." Her heart skipped a beat. What is it? Logan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Slowly, he opened it to reveal a delicate ring that shimmered gently in the fading light. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And with the girls. You've brought light and joy into my world in a way I never imagined possible. Olivia, will you marry me? Tears welled up in her eyes as she instinctively covered her mouth in disbelief. And then, through a trembling smile, she answered, Yes, Logan, yes, I will. He slid the ring onto her finger with reverence, then pulled her into a tight, heartfelt embrace. The storm that had once marked the beginning of their journey had passed. Now, together, they were ready to write a new chapter, one grounded in love, trust, and a shared future. That night, as the twins slept soundly in the next room, Olivia and Logan talked softly about their plans. A small, intimate wedding. A life built on mutual respect. A family shaped not by perfection, but by deep and unwavering love. It was the beginning of something truly lasting. As the days passed, wedding preparations began. Simple yet meaningful. Olivia chose to keep the ceremony intimate, surrounded only by the people who mattered in their new life. Harper and Hazel were thrilled to be flower girls, and Logan made sure they were involved in every joyful detail, from choosing flowers to picking out dresses. But amid the happiness, one final thread from the past tugged at Olivia's heart. Logan, she said one evening as they stood on the terrace once again, I need to talk to Jake. Logan looked at her, concern etched into his features. Are you sure? Do you think that's really necessary? Yes, Olivia said with quiet certainty. Not for him, for me. I need to close that chapter. For good. Logan reached for her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. If that's what you need, I'll support you every step of the way. The next day, Logan helped track down Jake's address. Olivia chose to go alone, but knowing Logan was just a call away gave her the strength she needed. Outside a small bar, she found Jake. Older, more worn, his life etched into the lines of his face. Olivia, he said, surprised. Yes, we need to talk. Inside, they sat at a quiet corner table. Jake seemed uneasy, as though dreading whatever she was about to say. Why are you here? He asked, voice low and tired. I'm here to tell you that I don't expect anything from you anymore, Olivia said firmly. You made your choice. But the girls, they deserve to know that I did everything I could to give them the best life possible. And now I'm moving on. Jake sat in silence, staring into the bottom of his empty glass. I know I failed you, he said at last. But I never knew how to be a father. It doesn't matter anymore, Olivia replied calmly. They have someone now, someone who loves them as if they were his own. Logan is everything you weren't. And never will be. Her words landed heavily, but Jake didn't argue. His silence spoke volumes. Olivia stood, feeling as though a weight had finally lifted. As she stepped out of the bar and into the daylight, there was a lightness in her chest that she hadn't felt in years. When she returned home, she found Logan in the yard, helping Harper and Hazel set up a little play tent. As she approached, he looked up. How did it go? She smiled. It went the way it needed to. I'm finally ready to move on. He pulled her into a warm hug. I'm proud of you. And in the days that followed, as the wedding approached and their new life unfolded, Olivia finally allowed herself to believe. She had found her home. Not just in a place, but in the love of a man and the laughter of two little girls. After finally confronting the last shadow of her past, Olivia felt lighter, free. Her heart was no longer tethered to pain or doubt, but anchored in the love she had found with Logan, and in the joyful laughter of Harper and Hazel. Then came the morning that would forever mark a new beginning. It was her wedding day. Though nervous, Olivia stood in front of the mirror glowing with quiet confidence. Dressed in an elegant white gown that flowed like soft clouds around her, she looked at her reflection and marveled at how far life had brought her. Not long ago, this moment had felt like a distant dream, unreachable. Now it was real. Suddenly the door burst open. Harper and Hazel rushed in, each holding tiny bouquets, their dresses twirling like little princesses as they giggled in excitement. "You look beautiful, Mommy," Harper said, her eyes wide with admiration. Olivia knelt down, hugging them close. "Thank you, my darlings. You both look absolutely stunning too." With her heart brimming with love, Olivia walked down the aisle. Logan stood waiting at the other end, his eyes fixed on her with a gaze that held steady reassurance. The moment their eyes met, all of her lingering fears melted away. There was only love, pure and certain. The ceremony was simple, yet profoundly meaningful. Each vow they exchanged was more than just words. It was a quiet celebration of everything they had overcome. They weren't just two people pledging their love. They were a family, united by choice and by heart. As the final words were spoken, Harper and Hazel ran into their arms, squealing with delight. In that joyful embrace, the once uncertain future became something else entirely. A promise. A new chapter full of laughter, stability, and shared dreams. After the wedding, the mansion pulsed with a new kind of warmth. It no longer felt like just a grand house, it felt like home. Harper and Hazel quickly adjusted to the idea of a complete family, and Olivia found herself finally settled in a life that made sense. Each day was filled with sweet, ordinary moments, shared breakfasts, bedtime stories, and laughter that echoed through the halls. On the first morning of married life, Olivia awoke to the sound of birds chirping just outside the garden windows. She turned, half drowsy, to find Logan watching her with a soft, peaceful smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Bennet," he whispered, the words still new and thrilling. She smiled sleepily, still adjusting to her new last name. "Good morning. Ready to start our new life?" "More than ready." In the months that followed, their days were filled with gratitude and growth. Logan supported Olivia as she juggled work and her studies, always by her side. He was devoted to the twins, attending school events, cheering on small victories, and never missing a bedtime hug. He was more than just a father figure, he was theirs. Then, one quiet afternoon while organizing papers in the office, Olivia felt suddenly lightheaded. Thinking it was just fatigue, she decided to lie down and rest. But over the following days, the exhaustion persisted. Logan quickly noticed. "You've been unusually tired lately," he said, watching her closely. "Maybe you should see a doctor." "It's just exhaustion, Logan." "I'm fine," she said, brushing it off. "It might be," he agreed gently, "but it won't hurt to check. I just want to make sure you're taking care of yourself." Though reluctant at first, Olivia agreed and made an appointment. She wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. Maybe just a vitamin deficiency. But after a series of routine tests, the doctor came in with a smile and a sentence that would change everything. "Congratulations, Mrs. Bennet. You're pregnant." Olivia blinked, trying to process the words. Pregnant. She sat in stunned silence as the meaning sank in. Baby with Logan. The idea flooded her with a whirlwind of joy, disbelief, and hope. Later that day, she returned home and found Logan in the living room, laughing with Harper and Hazel as they played. The way he looked at them, so full of love, reassured her that this was the right moment. "Logan," she said gently, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Can we talk for a moment?" He heard the seriousness in her tone and turned to the girls. "Okay, little ladies, go play in your room for a bit." Once they were alone, he stepped closer. "What is it, Olivia?" She looked into his eyes, searching for the right words. Then, with a breath that carried both fear and excitement, she said it. "I went to the doctor today, and I found out I'm pregnant." For a moment, Logan was completely still. And then, a wide, radiant smile broke across his face. "You're pregnant?" She nodded, eyes shimmering with tears. "Yes, we're going to have a baby." Without hesitation, he pulled her into a tight embrace, his heart overflowing with happiness. The joyful revelation of Olivia's pregnancy had filled their home with renewed energy and hope. It was a moment they never expected, yet felt so right, as if life itself was offering them a fresh beginning. "Amazing, Olivia. I don't even know what to say, Logan whispered, still overwhelmed by the news. And in the weeks that followed, excitement bloomed in every corner of their lives. Preparations for the new addition to their family began immediately. Harper and Hazel were over the moon when they found out they'd be getting a baby brother or sister. Their little hands were always busy, helping Olivia choose baby clothes, sorting through soft blankets, and decorating the nursery with stars, clouds, and colors they believed would make the baby smile. One quiet evening, after the twins had drifted off to sleep, Olivia and Logan sat together in the soft glow of the nursery nightlight. Watching the girls breathe gently in their beds, Olivia reached for her belly, now showing clear signs of new life. "It feels like we've been through so much in such a short time," she said softly, running her fingers over her bump. Logan took her hand. "And every challenge led us right here." She smiled, genuine and peaceful. "I'm happier than I ever thought I could be." Despite the trials they had faced, there was now an unshakable sense of peace in their world. The pregnancy didn't just bring a new child into their lives, it brought them even closer as a family. Logan was more attentive than ever. Every morning, he checked if she'd slept well. Every evening, he made sure her feet were up and her cravings satisfied. And Harper and Hazel, they sang lullabies to the belly, made drawings for their future sibling, and counted down the weeks with unmatched anticipation. But like any meaningful journey, it wasn't without its bumps. During a routine prenatal checkup, the doctor raised a small concern and advised Olivia to get more rest to avoid potential complications. It wasn't serious, but it was enough for Logan to shift into full protector mode. From that moment on, he took on most of the daily responsibilities: grocery runs, school pickups, household chores. "I don't want you to worry about anything except taking care of yourself and the baby," he told her, firm but gentle. Olivia chuckled, resting her head against his shoulder. "You're spoiling me too much, Logan. You deserve all the care in the world," he replied, pressing a kiss to her forehead. The months passed swiftly. Spring turned to summer, and the nursery slowly filled with everything a newborn could need. Then, one calm evening, as the warm breeze fluttered through the curtains and the house rested in quiet anticipation, it was time. Olivia went into labor. Logan remained calm on the outside, though his eyes betrayed a storm of emotions. He helped her into the car and drove to the hospital without hesitation. The hours that followed were long, intense, and unforgettable. And then, at last, the sound that changed everything. A newborn cry echoed through the delivery room. "Son. Healthy. Strong." Logan held him first, cradling the tiny life with awe and reverence. Olivia, exhausted but glowing with joy, looked at both of them through tears of happiness. "Welcome to the family, my son," Logan whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. Soon after, Harper and Hazel, who had waited eagerly in the hallway, were brought in to meet their baby brother. Their eyes lit up instantly, and without missing a beat, they promised, hand on heart, to protect him forever. Life at Logan's mansion had never felt more whole. What began as an unlikely, fragile union had transformed into a vibrant, resilient family. Every trial, every moment of doubt had been worth it. Their journey wasn't perfect, but it was real, full of love and beautifully theirs. As Logan held the baby in his arms, and the twins played nearby with laughter bubbling around them, Olivia looked around and finally saw the thing she had been searching for her entire life: a true home. A family built not just by blood, but by trust, sacrifice, and unwavering love. And though this story finds its happy ending, sometimes love doesn't need perfection. It just needs people willing to fight for it. What did you think of Logan and Olivia's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Rate this story from 0 to 10. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to follow more heartwarming tales just like this one. Click on the end screen to continue to the next beautiful story.